Lights are on inside the Yum Center. We're ready to go. Louisville and DePaul. Joe Vasili throws it up, and the opening tip is controlled by the Cards, and that's how they start their home opener. Jada Curry on the attack, and Louisville on the board just like that. We expect to see, well, I know it's Louisville. Bit of a track meet, bit of speed up and down the court here as we go along this afternoon. Here's Peoples outside to Michelle Sedor. Caitlin Gilbert, shot clock down to 5, a little off balance for Peoples, and she drops it in for the first two. Starting 5 for Louisville, you saw Curry, first year with the Cards. Kiki Jefferson, first year with the Cards. Sydney Taylor, first year with the Cards. Olivia Cochran manning the post inside, looking for her first touch, but ripped away by Peoples. Top returning scorer, as Christy mentioned, in her second year with DePaul, but Caitlin Gilbert, first season with DePaul. Michelle Sedor, first season with DePaul. Jory Allen, first season with DePaul. You get the point here. We've got some players to fill you in on as we go along as DePaul out to their first lead.
Well, Erica, you've hit on it. This game's going to be about pace. We know Louisville wants to get up and down, and DePaul has said they will run because that's how they want to play as well.
Nyla Harris with the basket that answered the Peoples hoop. Into the corner, open look. Kate Clark, and a great start for DePaul. Third game of the season for DePaul. They knocked off Stonehill on Thursday in Chicago, forced 34 turnovers in that 99-52 win. Sydney Taylor for Cochran. Cochran on the spin.
And Eric, that's a matchup down low to watch. Can DePaul get a double there in time to try to limit Olivia Cochran at the rim?
Cochran 8 points a game, 6.5 rebounds a game a season ago. The rebounding total led the team. Peoples has gone for 20 in each of the first two games. That's Clark for 3. And a foul called on the other end.
Well, Eric, a year ago, DePaul averaged 8 made threes. In the first two games, they've been down to 5. But we see here in the first 2 minutes, Kate Clark with back-to-back threes for the Blue Demons.
10 for 35 outside the three-point line in the first two games. Didn't need to take a lot of threes. They'll need to make a lot of threes, you would think, Christy, against this Louisville team. That even though the names change, Jeff Walz has his system, and it's proven year after year that it's pretty effective.
Absolutely, and it's a system that's really predicated on the defense. Jeff Walz is one of the best defensive coaches in the country. He wants to force those turnovers and get out and create offense from it.
Gilbert, defended by Taylor. On the entry, knocked away from Jory Allen. Out of the scramble, Peoples will try to pull up. DePaul red hot out of the block so far. 5 for 5 from the floor and out to a 6-point lead. Cochran, good little fake to get free. Just won't drop. One and done for the Cards. You know what Doug Bruno team wants to run. They want to sprint down the floor, get as many opportunities as possible. And DePaul continues to light it up, and Jeff Walz not thrilled at all with the lack of defense so far, as DePaul is out to a 15-6 lead.
They say there's a first time for everything, and this November proves it. It's the first time all 30 are all in. 6 groups where 8 teams advance.
These teams have all the star power
to conquer a brand new bracket.
This is must-see TV
in the new NBA Cup. So the question is, who's going to be first to take it? It's in-season tournament time. It's NBA on ESPN time.
True story. 4 of the nation's best battle under one roof.
What a way to tip off the college basketball season.
First, it's a clash between top 5 heavyweights.
2 outstanding, iconic programs.
Then, Coach Cal's Wildcats look to upend the top-ranked Jayhawks. the State Farm Champions Classic. Number 2, Duke. Number 4, Michigan State at 7. Then number 16, Kentucky.
Blue Demons to go out to a 15-6 lead for head coach Doug Bruno. Doug waiting for the huddle to clear, and there he is. Not that he needs an introduction after 38 years, but he told you in order to hang with Louisville in this game, he needed to check a couple of big boxes. That's happened so far here.
Well, he said first and foremost, we've got to handle their pressure. And then secondly, we've got to be able to rebound with them. Well, Doug, if you make every shot, the rebound's not quite as important.
But what rebounds there have been so far, they've all been controlled by DePaul. 3-0 for the Blue Demons. Cochran gets the basket and the foul and a chance for a three-point play out of the timeout.
Well, one thing remains the same for Louisville. They're so good out of timeout. So there's the screen on the ball and the roll by Olivia Cochran. I love that play out of the timeout because it got your big the ball on the move. Rotation was just late for DePaul.
So that ends the 8-0 run for DePaul, and here comes that pressure for the Cards.
Little 1-2-2 full court press.
Yeah, sorry, Chris, they got out through it pretty quickly, did they not?
Well, Doug Bruno was joking about it. He said, I don't think we've worked on our press breaker for the last 6 years because he's had so many veteran guards. And he said, they spent a lot of time the last 2 days on the press breaker. That time just got it in and got it up the floor before Louisville could truly apply the pressure.
Harris and Jefferson have gone to the bench for Louisville as Curry hits on the pull-up. Jada Curry could fill it up at Cal. She'll have kind of a combo spot for this Louisville team, you would think. Running the point, but also being able to score like she's always done. Cochran standing her ground defensively, but strong take off the bounce by Cedor.
8 new players for DePaul. 4 of those are transfers. And Cedor from Michigan, they know how to score. They know how to play. One commonality amongst the majority of the transfers for DePaul is they had injuries that they dealt with in their previous schools. Now back here to DePaul, healthy, and it's really showing.
Here's the faithful 5 for DePaul. You can see 2 returning from ACL injuries. It's kind of been so much the story we've seen throughout college basketball of rosters ever evolving with the transfer portal and then players who miss time with injury coming back. And how about the Blue Demons right now? They continue to fill it up from the outside. Kate Clark has knocked down 3 threes so far.
DePaul went under that on-ball screen, and Curry just took that shot. I'm eager to see if that's going to be the game plan throughout for DePaul, is to give up the outside shot to Louisville.
Now attacking the basket, and DePaul is just slicing up Louisville's defense right now. Back to Cochran. You sense Louisville feels they have an advantage in the post, and they go to Cochran again, and she'll have a chance for a three-point play.
Well, and DePaul's in a little inside out. It starts with Allen kicking it out to Clark for the 3. And then Louisville's answer. If you're going to go small, we're going to get it into our big, and Cochran just muscles it up.
Louisville has brought some size onto the court. A newcomer, freshman from Istanbul, Eylia Love, who was cleared by the NCAA last Friday, about 9 days ago. Made her debut against Cincinnati. Into the post, Eylia Love in on defense, but no stopping DePaul right now. 4:15 to go in the first quarter. DePaul's got 26 on the board.
Well, and credit to DePaul because they're just spreading the floor, and you've seen a couple of drive-bys by perimeter players. You've seen Jory Allen just that last time use her agility to get by the bigger Louisville post players.
Jeff Walls' team forced 21 Cincinnati turnovers in the 77-59 win on Monday. Here's Nina Rickards into the game. The Florida transfer kicks it to the corner. That's off the mark. Curry with the follow. Back out to Rickards and a reset here for Louisville. And a turnover. Taken away by Cedor. And Cedor gets called for the travel. Jeff Walls now in his 17th season with the Cards. 442 wins. You know how this season's going to end if you've been following Louisville history, right? Another trip to the Elite Eight. If it was only that easy, but a Walls team, and this has been consistent, they build to something as the year goes along. And that's why what you're seeing here, and you'll see in the next few weeks, he told us last year, he's like, yeah, 2.5 weeks to go in the regular season, that's when we really dial it up. And maybe you're going to take a little bit more time to figure out what you have in the first part of the season with all these transfers. But this is a team that is always built for March, it would seem.
Well, Eric, to your point, I mean, Jeff Walls is very honest about it. He says the reason we've had sustained success is because we know how to organize our practices. We're not trying to kill them now. We're just trying to get better, get sharper, get to know one another so that, to your point, we're ready for March.
Ball will stay with DePaul, 3:02 to go. So Elite Eight appearances in the last 5 NCAA tournaments. Last year, you'll remember, they had 26 wins. They were struggling down the stretch, but turned it up in those last couple of weeks. Made it to the ACC tournament final. Their 12th trip to the Sweet 16 and their 6th straight. They won at Texas convincingly, 73-51. Then knocked off Ole Miss in the Sweet 16. Rebound pulled down by Bryn Maskowicz into the game for DePaul. Now Maeve Mackerlane, who did not play in the last game for DePaul. There is Maeve, the sophomore from Philly, battling a knee problem, but out there today off the bench for Doug Bruno.
Well, if you're a DePaul fan, the good news is a dead ball turnover, which allows DePaul to get back and get set up. This is when Louisville will pounce on you, when they force that turnover and they get out in transition.
Nyla Harris will check in. Cochran checks out, 8 points in her 7 minutes so far. Ten-point lead for DePaul, their largest 13 here in the first. Harris. Ricards.
DePaul's switching all screens around the perimeter right now. At some point, Louisville's got to take advantage.
Love on the drive. The foul called on Maskowicz. So Eylia Love will head to the free throw line. Senior, another one of those players, making her home debut for Louisville here today. January transfer from Georgia Tech last year, so practice with Louisville, but now on the court. ACC men's basketball this Friday. Bucknell will be in Durham to take on Duke at 6 Eastern time. Then it's UC Riverside in Chapel Hill to take on the Tar Heels at 8 Eastern time. That's right here on the ACC network and also on the app.
With the made free throws, here comes that full court 1-2-2 press again.
And stepping out of bounds is Mackerlane, so DePaul having some trouble with that Louisville defense for the first time here in this quarter.
Just like Louisville builds for March, it's like their press builds. They just keep on you and keep on you, and where DePaul played so cleanly through the first 3 or 4 minutes, now have racked up a total of 3 turnovers.
You see the shooting numbers. Louisville 7 for 11, but DePaul 11 of 15, including 4 for 4 from outside the three-point line. Right now, the Blue Demons a little out of control, gaining control, and that one almost dropped down, but the rebound pulled down by the freshman. Quickly on the push the other way with Curry. Dropped off to Love from 14, yes. Good start for Eylia Love. She's got 6 early points. Peoples shut off. That won't drop. Battle for the loose ball, won by Harris. Louisville on the run. Curry, and a foul called by Jeff Smith. I think it's on Gilbert.
Yes.
Gilbert away from the ball.
In true collegiate athlete form, Gilbert claims she didn't foul.
Well, maybe you did, but you just got to put the seed of doubt into the officials' minds for the next call, right? I mean, that's
exactly. That's what I'm saying. You never did it.
My analyst for this game is one of the all-time one's like playing chess when others play checkers back in her playing days at Tulane. Just putting that little morsel into the ear of the official for next time. Gilbert will check out. Down to a 4-point game. You cut into that deficit, all of a sudden the press looks a little bit better. DePaul does well, though, and they get an open look out of the pressure, and Peoples rattles it in for 3. 11 first-quarter points for Anea Peoples. Love for Harris. Now Curry on the drive. Curry did well to get it up. Looked like it was going to get caught on her hip, but muscled it up there for 2. And look at the hustle play by Eylia Love. Jeff Walz talked about it this week about how Love really showed up on the tape after the Cincinnati game. What was she, a plus 19 in that game for Louisville?
Yes, she was. And then you see Curry with the take, which I'm not even sure how she got the ball out of her hands. But Eric, back to your point about Love. You know, my question for Jeff Walz was, who's your next Mikasa Robinson? Who's your next just dog on defense? And that's when he responded with, he likes what he's seen from Love so far.
That's a mistake on the sideline because off the dead ball, Jory Allen traveled, took a few steps out of bounds. So DePaul piling up the turnovers right now. Those are 4 turnovers in the last 3.5 minutes. Kiki Jefferson for Ricards. Love for 3.
Miscommunication by the DePaul perimeter defenders, and that left Love open as she went out to that wing and knocked it down.
9 points for Love off the bench in the first quarter for the Cards. And a turnover, another turnover for DePaul. On the drive, the try for the left-hand finish is off the mark by Istanbuloglu, but she will go to the free throw line to shoot a couple.
So this is just traditional baseline exchange by the guards, and DePaul gets caught not communicating, and so Love's just wide open on that wing.
Here's the freshman, 6'3", had 7 points, 3 rebounds in 21 minutes. What a whirlwind for this young lady, because Jeff Walz said the recruiting of her didn't start till early August. She was practicing in the preseason, cleared by the NCAA last Friday, as we mentioned, on the court the following Monday against Cincinnati. And here she is tying the game for Louisville in the first quarter. Ten to go in the quarter. Drop back for the deep 3. Sidor, no. The putback, no. The battle for the loose ball. Peoples bats it around, and that will do it for what was an entertaining first quarter. DePaul had a 13-point lead, but we're tied at 29 after 1.
In the first quarter from 3, led by Kate Clark with 3 of her threes, has been perfect. And for DePaul to stay in this game, they've got to continue to be able to knock some of those down.
They were red hot at the beginning, weren't they? 11 of 13 from the field to start, but 1 of 7 from the floor to finish that first quarter. And that has led to a tie game at 29 as we start the second quarter. In that first quarter, DePaul shot 60% from the field. Louisville countered with 67%. They whip it around for Clark. That won't drop. Peoples, a second chance here. Sidor, deep 3, a little too deep. And the Cards will take over.
Eric, one thing we haven't seen yet from DePaul is their full-court pressure. This is a team who traditionally picks up full after a make, and we have not seen that yet.
Do you think we will in this game here against Louisville?
I think it's going to be personnel specific when he gets the right lineup there, only because of the size and speed that Louisville matches with.
Let me get back to you on that one. That was your tone on that one.
Hey, we started off by saying there's a lot of things we need to learn about both these teams.
Right.
I'll put that in that category.
Yes. One thing you know DePaul would love to do is run off that miss. Louisville getting back, but blowing by, but then missing the bunny was Gilbert. Ricards, she's never afraid to drive the lane. Nina Ricards gets the bucket. Her first two. Another three missed by DePaul. They have gone cold. Ricards, the kick over to Jefferson. Peoples the rebound.
Where some people might be like, why isn't DePaul getting on the offensive glass? They are spraying the floor here, 5 out. So when that ball goes up, depending on where Jory Allen is, they're not able to get those second chance looks, and that's allowing Louisville to get out and run.
Gilbert's going to get called for her second personal foul.
That's tough for the Blue Demons. Gilbert coming off the first triple-double of the season this past Thursday night against Stonehill. Tremendous outing for her. 12 points, 10 rebounds, and 10 steals.
Yes, a
Have yourself a game.
Triple-double.
Yes.
First season with DePaul after playing last season with Missouri, starting her career at Notre Dame. Sydney Taylor, UMass grad transfer into the game. Part of the original starting five for Louisville. Here's Ricards. Taylor will try the three. No good. Cochran back into the game. On the glass, won't drop. Clark. And foul's going to get called on the Cards here. I think it's Harris on the reach. Nope, it's Jefferson. Jeff Walls can't bear to watch. Peoples off the mark. Very cold right now for DePaul. Red hot to start. Made their first 5 field goals, and they've missed their first 6 of this quarter, Christy.
Well, as fast as DePaul wants to play, they look rushed on their shots all of a sudden during this stretch where they're not making them. They just look like they've got to get it up quick versus they look so confident and in control early to start this game. They've got to get back to that. Shooters got to shoot the way they know how.
Taylor leans in, couldn't get it. Louisville back on the glass with Harris. That one ends the drought here to start the quarter for the Blue Demons.
And that was off a set play called from the bench. I like the play call. I like that Doug Bruno got his team organized and on the same page.
Cochran stuck with it and got the basket. She's in the double figures now at 10. There's Harris for Ricards on the pull-up. Timeout, DePaul. Louisville outscoring DePaul 8-3 here to start the second quarter.
This is the all-electric Polestar 2.
Album right now, and now they are DePaul teammates. They were friends growing up. They both went to Notre Dame. According to Doug Bruno, they both originally turned down DePaul, but you never want to burn a bridge, and the door was open for them to reunite in Chicago. And you see what Peoples has done now in her second year with DePaul. Of course, Gilbert playing in her first season with the Blue Demons. That familiarity, we're hearing that from coaches when they're checking out the transfer portal. If they have recruited kids earlier, or if they know and have a different connection from somewhere, that really seems to be a key piece for a lot of coaches we talk to, Christy.
Absolutely, and for Doug Bruno and his staff, even before the portal, because he recruits the Chicagoland area so hard, he was known for players transferring back in. Of course, then they had to sit the year, but this is nothing new for Doug Bruno in terms of recruiting. He's a genuine individual. He's a legend in our game. But for every recruit that's had to tell him no, I guarantee you it was a really hard conversation to tell Doug Bruno no. And then at some point they wised up and they wound up back at DePaul.
But in this era, no may not be your final no. There may be a yes after that no. No may not be the final answer. We saw Summer Lee, a freshman from Toronto, in the game for DePaul. 5-point game, 5.5 to go in the first half. Look for Cochran in the paint again. Points in the paint. What an edge right now for Louisville in that category.
Yeah, 13-5 right now for Louisville, and Cochran's just having a day already. 12 points, 5 of 7 from the field.
26-8 is the edge in the paint. 17-0 is the edge on the bench points. Once again, the shot clock winding down for DePaul. Here's Gilbert. Gilbert the kick. 3 on the shot clock. Flipping it up and off the mark is Jory Allen. And Ricards pushes it back the other way. The pull-up won't drop. On the glass, looking for the follow is Harris, and she'll earn a trip to the free throw line. Jeff Walls' team is 5 of 10 from the field in this quarter. DePaul is 1 for 10. And the difference at the free throw line is noticeable. Louisville 8 for 8 from the line so far. DePaul has not attempted a free throw attempt as Harris steps to the stripe. One more to come, of course, for Harris. Fridays, ACC PM with Mark and Taylor will start at 4 Eastern time. They'll get you ready for another college football Saturday, which includes Syracuse and Georgia Tech, which will be seen here on ACC and Saturday night, 8 Eastern time. 1 of 2 for Harris. 26-6 is this extended run for the Cards.
DePaul missed Clark in the corner. She was wide open. They just couldn't get her the ball.
On the cut, the basket is good for Clark. Clark had a career-high 17 points last game against Stonehill. She scored a grand total of 9 points in 14 games a season ago.
And Doug Bruno told us we're asking her to do more than has ever been asked of her. And I just got the feeling when Doug said that he just knows she's going to keep getting better and better as the season progresses.
Well, you talked about injuries before. She did not play her senior year of high school at Carmel, Indiana. Went to Michigan, played those 14 games there, now in her first season with DePaul. And off to a great start with her new program.
I smiled to myself when Coach Bruno said, she's just got a knack to score. And I'm like, you don't recruit anybody who doesn't have a knack to score.
that is a prerequisite for a Bruno team these last 38 seasons. We've seen that. They averaged 76 points a game last year, 88 points a game so far this season. And for both coaches, as we asked them, well, what should we expect this year? Jeff Wall said, scoring's not going to be a problem for us. We got plenty of kids who can score. Can we play some defense, which is a Louisville prerequisite, playing some defense?
Well, and Jeff Walls also talked about we've got to be better with our turnovers. They had 14 turnovers in their opening win against Cincinnati. 8 of those were in the first quarter, and that's where they struggled in that game. Once they settled in, that's when the scorers were able to set up and really knock down the buckets.
Maskowitz gets called for the foul. You see our score, Louisville's on top of DePaul by 6. How about in Raleigh, NC State on top of the Huskies? So an upset brewing there with UConn ranked 2nd, NC State unranked. Still more than 3 to go here in the quarter. Knocked out of the hands for Taylor. Tipped it to Curry. There's another rebound, but that's going to be an offensive foul called on Nyla Harris.
Eric, we've talked a lot about Olivia Cochran as their leading returner, but I got to tell you, Harris is the one I've got my eye on. She's so explosive off the bounce. That's a good call by the official. Drops that shoulder. but I like her upside for this team because she's the Energizer Bunny as well, and top of that press when Love's not in.
There's going to be a foul called on Sydney Taylor. Taylor, who was a standout at UMass for Tony Verdi, who's now the Pitt head coach. UMass had 27 wins last year, 26 wins, and went to the NCAA tournament a couple of years ago. Taylor had 21 in their tourney game against Notre Dame a couple of years ago. I think there's always that question, well, these kids who are making the move from mid-majors like UMass for Taylor or James Madison for Jefferson, how are they going to handle life in the ACC? And you see glimpses when you go back through their bio that they were ready for that moment. Now, can you be ready for that moment twice a week once conference play starts? That's the challenge.
And when teams are specifically game planning against you, can you do it on both ends?
Harris with the finish. Eight-point lead for Louisville. Cochran got the assist on this last play.
Big to big in transition. You got to love it. Harris was such good touch, but give Olivia Cochran credit for the leading pass.
I was trying to eavesdrop a little bit because I thought we could hear Jeff Walls, and maybe it was Olivia Cochran who got called for the foul. Just a little give and take. I think Olivia has earned that right to just have her opinion heard. It's career game number 102 for her today, so she's the longest tenured card. And she's working hard here, you can tell.
What Jeff Walls has said, that Olivia Cochran, she just embodies what Louisville stands for. And I loved that comment from the head coach because that's ultimate praise when you know that there's a young lady, a 4-year player, who has stayed and has bought into everything that the program's supposed to be about.
DePaul led by 13 in the first quarter. Louisville has flipped it to an 8-point lead here in the second. Player down for DePaul, so a little advantage here for Curry, but can't hit. And I think the player who was down was Clark, who got up, got to the rebound, and got fouled.
That's a really
so you saw
tough.
DePaul's first. I'm sorry, Chris. You saw DePaul's first free throws of the game just a moment ago. They'll go back to the line here. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, I was going to say, you see the matchup of Clark trying to defend Nyla Harris. That's why she was on the ground, but to her credit, got up to get that defensive rebound.
For Harris, it's her second personal foul.
Somehow DePaul has got to get Peebles going again offensively. Throughout this run, she has been quiet.
Well, even though Gilbert and Peoples have been held in check lately, Clark has filled the void with a team-high 16 points. Harris sits down with the two personals.
So you're seeing this Princeton action from Louisville in the half court. Jeff Walls told us we need to get ball reversal. We're so much better once we get the ball reversed.
There's Gilbert with the rebounds. Hawked by Curry, and then a turnover for DePaul. That's their 10th. It was interesting when you were talking to these two head coaches about their styles and their systems. When you asked Jeff Walls about it, he said, well, you know, you got the dribble drive with the Princeton elements, right? And he paused for a moment. He's like, I'm not quite sure yet, with a laugh, because back to your point at the top of the telecast, there's a lot of unknowns right now. DePaul almost lost it, but they've got possession with a minute to go here in the half. Maskowicz on the cut, finds the cutter in the basket by Peoples.
Big bucket by DePaul, because as much as we've talked about the scoring drought for them, they're only down 4 right now.
That's 9 assists now for DePaul as a team. Battle for the rebound. Maskowicz who's battled injuries throughout her career at UCLA. Playing for DePaul now, comes up with a couple of good plays. The rebound and the assist. And DePaul will bring that clock down as far as they can. About 3.5 seconds between the game clock and the shot clock. Looking for the cutter again. There's Clark. That won't drop. Chance for a final push here. Cochran showing the handle with the dish. Good if it goes. And it won't drop. That's a pretty good finish at the end of the quarter by DePaul because it was unraveling there.
Seeing that, whether it's Seedor or Gilbert, new opportunities for this team.
Really, when you look at DePaul's roster, only Peoples, Jory Allen, and McElrain played in the final game for DePaul last season. So a lot of opportunity there. Cochran, first possession of the third quarter for the Cards. And down goes Curry. She's tied up. Possession arrow will give it to DePaul. You think about this Louisville team last year that went to the Elite Eight. Yes, Haley Van Lith averaged 19 points a game, but Chrislyn Carr had that great ACC tournament, averaged 17 points a game in that tourney. Morgan Jones, along with Carr and Van Lith, combined for 40 points a game. You talked about Mikasa Robinson, who did a lot of everything for this Louisville team, especially on defense. And there were a lot of pieces for Louisville and Jeff Walls to replace for this year, not just Van Lith.
Well, and I'm glad you brought that up, Eric, because everyone focuses on the departure of Van Lith. I think those seniors were so instrumental. You need experience when you have a system like Jeff Walls run. And so I think those other pieces are just as much of a loss as a great player like Haley Van Lith.
Gilbert. Kick over to Allen. Shot clock down to 3. Gilbert from the corner. Won't go, and the rebound for Sydney Taylor. Taylor did not score in the first half. She's now 0 for 5 from the field. Another second chance opportunity, courtesy of Nyla Harris, who's got 9.
Well, I think one thing to watch for Louisville as the season progresses, or that I'm eager to see, is for all these great transfer scorers, they're used to having the ball in their hands. How do they adjust as the year continues on in terms of the offensive flow?
Peoples to the basket. The assist to Gilbert brings it back to a 4-point game. On the drive, no good. Harris off the mark. Clark had the hot hand in the first half, drains it for 3 here in the third. 19 points for Kate Clark. 3 games, 3 new career highs for the sophomore from Indiana. On the drive, Kiki Jefferson has her first points at the KFC Yum Center. Peoples did well to track that down, but just couldn't get it to drop. Jefferson, coast to coast for 2.
And that's what Jefferson is capable of, just scoring in bunches, in transition, from 3, off the post, off the bounce.
For 2. Well, Nia Peoples 3 points away from keeping that 20-point string going. 20 points in each of her first 2 games this season. Now Gilbert, numbers for DePaul, and Gilbert will do it herself, but can't finish. Taylor, Harris, Peoples, back for DePaul, 2-on-2, back the other way. On the cut and the finish by Clark. Correction, Seedor on the basket. That's her third field goal. She's got 7. Offensive foul.
Kate Clark has just picked up where she left off in the first half with her 5th three of the game, up to 19 points. And to answer, Kiki Jefferson with a nice soft pull-up jumper at the rim.
We saw Jory Allen taking some pretty hard contact on that drive. Foul on Harris. Here's DePaul with a chance to go back in front. Remember, they led by 13 in the first quarter. Clark and Peoples have been the 1-2 punch. Not this time for Peoples. They have 36 of the 47 DePaul points. Regards to Love. Cochran on the cut for 2.
And that's what I think Louisville needs to do more of. Get the ball down low to Cochran or to Nyla Harris and just exploit their size advantage.
They've doubled up DePaul when it comes to paint points. Seymour taken away. That's Cochran with the steal, Cochran with the push, Cochran with the assist.
Cochran came in today leading the team in assists. Yes, that is your post player, leading the team in assists. And then this evening as well, 3 assists with still a quarter and a half to go.
Istanbuloglu takes the contact, and she needs to take a minute before she gets up. It was Marissa Russell on the finish on the assist by Cochran. Cochran will check out. 14 points, 2 rebounds, 3 assists in 20 minutes. Peoples trying to match Kate Clark for the team lead in scoring. They each have 19, so it's 38 of DePaul's 49 points for Peoples and Clark. 3-point game. Ricards. Istanbuloglu couldn't finish it, and it'll be DePaul basketball when we come back. Well, when in Louisville in May, what do? Well, if you're Doug Bruno, you pay a visit on your buddy Jeff Walls, who's got good tickets. That's next. Sunny day, a couple of beers out in the outfield, perfect. So these two guys go way back, a lot of respect for each other. They really like each other. They're very tight with Gino Auriemma. They probably will give it 24 hours before checking in with their friend Gino after what happened in Raleigh today. UConn falls to NC State by a final score of 92-81. So the second-ranked Huskies go down to defeat. Sanaya Rivers had a career-high 33 points, Christy, and 10 rebounds for the Wolfpack. Her previous career high was 22 points. So I would say she was ready for that matchup with number 2 UConn. But how about that? LSU number 1 goes down, number 2 UConn goes down, and we've only played 7 days of the basketball season so far.
Absolutely. But I think throughout the ACC, that was one question that permeated is what is NC State going to be this season? And I think they answered a lot of those questions this afternoon.
Here's a couple of parts of that answer. They shot 53% against UConn. That's not something you see every day. And they were a plus 12 in rebounding margin against the Huskies. So that is a very interesting result and a win for an ACC team as NC State puts 92 on the board at home and knocks off UConn this afternoon. Here it's a 3-point game. Louisville, Cards picked 4th in the ACC poll behind Virginia Tech, Notre Dame, and North Carolina. They'll have a chance to see North Carolina after us here on the ACC Network. They take on Davidson at the top of the hour. Batted around. Gilbert hangs onto it, just can't get it to drop. And this is going to go the other way, back to DePaul.
Kate Clark is knocking down shots. She's just active. That time, just effort allows the Blue Demons to maintain possession of the ball.
A reminder, she played 14 games for Michigan last season, and Christy mentioned it before that Doug Bruno said we are asking her to do more than she's ever done, and she's ready and answering that challenge so far. That won't drop, but look who follows it up. It's Allen who gets the basket. She's got 4 points, and DePaul is down by 1.
Not great spacing for Louisville right now. That allows DePaul to really pack in the paint.
Ricards can't hit, and it's taken away by Gilbert. Gilbert dribbles through the defense and scores.
Well, Eric, during the break, we were speaking of who else can start adding some points for the Blue Demons, and immediately it was Gilbert, but that's how she needs to get her points. Out of transition, off steals, off of rebounds, and get out and go.
Just to be clear, it's the first lead for DePaul since that first quarter when they were up before Louisville came back to tie it by the end of the first quarter.
Well, there Gilbert misses it, and you see Kate Clark just staying active, knocking the ball off of Russell to maintain possession, and this is the byproduct of that. Jory Allen with the 2. And then Gilbert in transition. I mean, I think if you're Louisville, you got to go on a run. You don't want to allow DePaul to stick around right now. Doug Bruno told us he knew this was a challenge. That's why he doubled up in the 2 games at home to get this group experience. And so far, you're seeing that experience pay off.
DePaul's last lead was 29-28 before going in front on that Gilbert basket. Gilbert picked up the foul. So she's got 3 personal fouls. She heads to the bench for DePaul. And now here's some Louisville pressure in the backcourt from Love.
Got to stay off that sideline against this trapping press.
It was tipped away. Out of the scramble, they get an open look for Clark in the corner. That's how you come out smelling like a rose against the press. Ball was getting kicked around, batted around, and you get it in the hands of Kate Clark, who's gone for 20 for the first time in her career. She's got 22. Love is fouled out top by Summer Lee.
Where sometimes, in order, even if you're hot, you need some help from your friends. Credit Peebles, because Peebles took the dribble to draw the defender up. That's what left Kate Clark open and gave her enough time to knock down that 3.
And Christy, we've seen today, you do not want to leave Kate Clark open. She's 6 of 9 from outside the 3-point line, but Louisville answers back with a 3 of their own. Just the second made 3 for the Cards. Love knocks it down to put the Cards back up by 1, and now here they come off the miss. Ricards to the basket.
A missed layup on one end will lead to a layup on the other end. And Louisville just so good when the ball is in Nina Ricard's hand in the open floor.
Summer Lee, freshman from Toronto. Into the hands of Sidor. Peoples. Won't go. Battle for the loose ball. Cochran tried to save it. DePaul's the first ones there. Cutting to the basket is Clark. Sidor found her. 2 more for Kate Clark.
That's at least the second time where Clark has just moved well without the ball to present herself at the rim for an easy look.
That 3 is off the mark, and it'll be DePaul basketball, closing in on 1 minute to go in the third quarter.
Again, you see this 5-out motion by DePaul, just trying to pull the bigs out and give them dribble penetration lanes, but unfortunately, Sidor turns it over.
That's a 12th turnover for DePaul. Eylia Love takes it right at Allen, who gets whistled for the foul. That's a third on Allen. So Gilbert's got 3. Allen has 3. No one else with more than 2. Harris, the only one with more than 2 for Louisville. She's got 3 personal fouls. Maskowitz back into the game for DePaul. Allen will check out with the 3.
I think it's with the 3, and probably just as much. Give her a blow as we're about to come to the end of the quarter. Let her have that extended break.
Love has 15. She scored 2 in 18 minutes of play against Cincinnati, but as Christy talked about before, she was very disruptive on defense, top of that press. Doing it with the scoring here today. Nyla Harris back into the game. Remember, she's got 3 personals. 3-point lead for the Cards, final minute of the third.
Oh, they missed Maskowitz on the little slip after the screen.
Peoples defended by Love. Back out to Gilbert. Peoples spinning, hanging, getting fouled. Love picks up her first personal foul. And Nea Peoples will go to the free throw line. Peoples can play. Preseason All-Big East, top returning scorer for this team. The only returning starter. She averaged just under 10 points a game a season ago for DePaul. She made double figures 19 times. She had 19 in a game earlier this season. She's got 19 in this one. That game earlier this season, which she had 19, was the exhibition game against Iowa in the crossover at Kinnick with 55,000 people watching. I know it doesn't count in the stats, but that's a memory you'll have. Put in 19 points up at a football stadium. Lee gets called for the foul with 4.4 to go in the quarter.
And Eric, not just a football stadium, with a lot of wind that day. So to put the ball in the hole that much against the wind is remarkable.
You had the wind. I thought the sight lines would be a challenge, but it was the wind that was more the challenge. Like a place kicker in football, just trying to judge how far it's going to move away from the upright when they kick it away.
Well, Eric, that's just how I grew up.
Played in windy conditions, did you,
exactly.
down south? Louisville's bringing up the pressure here, trying to make it tough on DePaul with 4.4 to go. They get Gilbert on the run. Gilbert steps through and launches, and that's short. And that will do it for the third quarter. So it's a 5-point lead for Jeff Walls' team as we head to the fourth at the Yum Center. How about the bench points, Christy? Telling a huge part of the story right now. And maybe huge isn't a big enough word when it's 30-0 in favor of the Cards.
Well,
taken away by Love.
I was going to say, that's why I felt like Jeff Walls just had this little, like he had almost like a smirk, like he knew. But he is not where he's going to be, obviously. But like he's got a lot of pieces right now that can fill it up. And we're seeing that bench and starters alike.
Cochran gets called for the foul as Allen takes another hard hit, and she'll go to the free throw line to shoot 2. And again, when you're Jeff Walls and you're used to making it deep into the NCAA tournament, that doesn't happen by accident. It's part of a plan to build up as the season goes along, put people in different positions. Sometimes they might be uncomfortable. It may be uncomfortable for the fans to watch, and I know it was that way a little bit for Louisville last year. What's wrong with the Cards? But he just knows you have to build and build and build as the season goes along, and especially this year with so many new players, 7 new players. Now, he pointed out, it's not like we're adding 7 new freshmen. These are players who have some miles on the odometer, who know how to play basketball. But another part that he pointed out, you only have them for 7 months when you talk about players who are coming in for 1 year. So it is kind of a crash course, but you got to use that entire season. And you got to use your strong players like Olivia Cochran in the paint, who scores again to put Louisville on top by 5.
Well, Eric, I think a point to Jeff Walls' system is the portal, and that players want to come play for him. because he develops them. Olivia Cochran, as a prime example, as a freshman, really had to be led to the rim to score. Now you're seeing her go coast to coast and score.
And finishing with the left hand. Coast to coast and with the left. Timeout called by DePaul. Not good enough for Jeff Walz, as you can see, as they head to the huddle in this timeout.
Here, the post player takes it coast to coast and finishes with the left hand.
You see some of the vitals for Olivia Cochran. One thing that does not jump up on that page is her career high. Her career high is 20. It came against Iowa in the Elite Eight in the NCAA tournament last season. She added 14 rebounds in that game. Her previous career high was 11. She's got 18 today to pace Louisville out of the timeout by DePaul. Gilbert with a much-needed basket, bring it back to a 5-point game. Ricards. Back for Cochran. Cochran will try to match her career high at the free throw line.
Eric, one thing I'm noticing with this Louisville lineup right now, we talked about how they only return 4 players. Well, 3 of them are on the floor right now for Jeff Walz here at crunch time.
Now for Cochran. Women's college basketball coverage continues next year on ACCN. It's Davidson taking on 16th ranked North Carolina. That's at the top of the hour. 8 Eastern, it's Duke and Team USA. So a lot more basketball to come tonight. On the putback, the foul. Good hustle play by Marissa Russell. We were talking about the ACC a little bit earlier with NC State knocking off the UConn Huskies. How about North Carolina? I mean, they've got transfer who made an impact. India Navarre had 17 points, 11 rebounds in her Carolina debut in their opening win against Gardner-Webb. What do you think about UNC?
I think we've all been eager to see, can they take that next step? They had a lull last year due to some injuries, but Eric, yes, Navarre was amazing off the bench for those 17, but 6 players in double digits. And it's not going to be a cakewalk here this afternoon against the Davidson team who upset Wake Forest just yesterday.
You see Louisville's made it to 70 points, which has been a very good number in the Jeff Walz era. Cochran on the pull-up. Not this time, but there is Ricards in the second chance for Louisville.
And that's
Nina
the experience.
Ricards. Yeah, Cochran inside for the 2. We're just going to talk about Ricards, and there was a whistle and a timeout called by DePaul. Right now, the talk of the town is Olivia Cochran.
It's been all Olivia Cochran here down the stretch. The power-up shots.
In the first quarter, but they have watched Louisville go in front by 10 here in the fourth quarter. So perhaps last stand for Doug Bruno's team. Ton of time left to go here in this fourth quarter, but he's taking a couple timeouts here just to try to slow things down and get his team to regroup a bit, Christy.
Well, these two coaches have gone against one another so many times. They know one another, and I love the timeout by Doug Bruno. He knows that Louisville can heat up in a hurry and go on a run, and there won't be enough time for DePaul to come back. So the downside of that timeout is you have to now come in against this full court pressure.
And you know that was the message in the Louisville huddle from Jeff Walz, saying they just did us a favor here because we can dial up the pressure. Now Allen is slow to get up. It is DePaul basketball.
One thing against this Louisville press, if you're DePaul, you don't want to catch the ball near the baseline because it's an easy trap opportunity.
Eylia Love is the one who knocked it away, and DePaul still trying to get it across half court. And they do. Peoples. Now Louisville very active defensively right now. Trying to extend this lead. It's their largest lead of the game at the moment. Up by 10. Allen to trigger the inbound for the Blue Demons. They get an open look for Peoples, can't hit it. Following up is Seymour to the basket. That won't drop. DePaul started the game. That's going to be a blocking foul on DePaul's Peoples. Remember, DePaul was 11 of 13 from the field to start this game. And now they've slid back to 42% from the field. And they're very good from outside the three-point line in that first quarter. They made 5 in the first, but they've made only 3 since then.
Well, the two areas that are just glaring to me in this game, bench points for Louisville, outscoring DePaul 32-0, and then points in the paint. DePaul up to 44 versus just 26 for DePaul.
Ricards with the rebound for the Cardinals.
And
We've
this
seen
is also
Ricards get extended run here at the one for this Louisville team. We haven't seen Jada Curry in a while. Now, Jeff Wall said he expects to use both of them in that position and sometimes on the court at the same time. And a blocking foul is going to be called on Allen. That will send Louisville's Russell to the free throw line. But you have to be impressed with Nina Ricards. You had a chance to see her a bunch when she played at the University of Florida. She's a Swiss Army knife. She'll fill up points if you need it. She'll get rebounds, especially on the offensive glass. And she's not huge, but she's really determined to get to the glass. And we've seen here for Louisville so far, she can run the offense a bit.
And she's defensively sound. She's feisty. As I like to say, she's kind of a gnat because she'll get up and in you, which feeds into Jeff Wall's defensive style. But if you're a Louisville fan, you're ecstatic about the combination of Ricards with Curry because they complement one another so well in all aspects of the game. But I think you also just saw in that last possession, Jeff Wall's taking over and being a pseudo point guard there, getting his players into the set for that back door and them executing the play.
You saw Allen head off. That was her 5th personal foul. 6 points, 5 rebounds for Allen. Maskowicz into the game for DePaul, now down by 11. Clark's had the hot hand today. 24 points, 6 of 9 from outside the three-point line, but can they get her the basketball? Gilbert, tough drive, will go to the line and shoot 2.
That's tough because you heard Olivia Cochran say, no, I didn't. Again, no one fouls. However, you could tell she did not want to foul that whatsoever. She was trying to force Gilbert into a tough shot.
Seven points now for Gilbert. Clark leading the way with 24. Peoples with 19. 1 of 2 in rebound for Harris. And then a jump ball. Possession arrow Louisville.
When are we going to see the full court pressure from DePaul? Down double digits right now. When will Doug Bruno go to it?
Well, they've got to make baskets, and that's been a challenge. Just 1 for 4 this quarter. Love. Cochran. Can't get it. Maskowicz tracks down the rebound, needs some help. Batted out of bounds by Cochran. He'll stay with DePaul.
I love Cochran's demeanor on that miss. She expected that pull-up jumper from 18 feet just to go down. That's the zone she is in at this point in the game right now. She's expecting everything to go her way.
Nice round of applause for Nina Ricards. Very dialed-in fans, of course, in Louisville. They can appreciate total game that she's brought as Curry is back in. Three-minute field goal drought here for DePaul. Less than 5.5 to go, and that's going to be a foul called on Sydney Taylor. That's her third. Three team fouls on Louisville. Gilbert's going to check out. Back to the freshman, Summerlee. Now to Clark. Louisville extending the defense, making it tough for Peoples. Can't get it to drop. And the rebound for Love. DePaul 1 for 5 from the field this quarter. Taylor can't hit the three.
I'm not sure that Jeff Walls is exactly happy with that shot. He wanted something a little bit more getting downhill off that on-ball screen.
Peoples for Clark. Rare look for Clark here in the fourth quarter. Coleman makes sure it's one and done for DePaul. And now Curry will slow things down for Louisville. Taylor doesn't need the screen, drives to the basket, and the foul. First points for Sydney Taylor. She'll have a chance to add to it at the free throw line.
Well, this is just experience. Taylor realizes she's got a big on her, so instead of going off the on-ball, just puts it on the ground, rips it, and goes baseline for the two.
Taylor, excellent shooter, 104 threes with UMass last season, which was 7th in the country. Hasn't had the touch today, 0 for 5 from outside the three-point line, but teammates getting the job done, especially those players off the bench for Louisville. 33-0 the bench scoring in favor of the Cards. Curry, Love. That won't drop, and Clark's got the rebound.
Jeff Walls exasperated on the sideline because he wants them to work more of the clock right now.
Charlize O'Hare into the game, and there are the first bench points of the game for DePaul. The freshman from Vegas, not shy, knocking down the triple.
O'Hare's got such great upside. Obviously has the range, can put it on the ground, can score. She just needs experience at this level. I expect big things from her, especially by the time they get to Big East play.
Taylor forces it a bit. And DePaul gets another basket or two, and now they've got a player breaking away with Clark, and it's 5 quick points for the Blue Demons. 26 for Clark. A little too aggressive from Peoples, who gets whistled for her third personal.
Charlize O'Hare just into the game, just moves to the ball, gets the feet set. A freshman stepping up here at Louisville to knock one down for DePaul.
Well, Jada Curry will go to the free throw line. Outstanding scorer in the Pac-12 for Cal. Led the pack in scoring as a freshman. Better than 18 points a game.
Here we go.
You can hear the message from DePaul there on the key. Just keep playing. Just 8 points. A lot of time to go. They've been good at making threes in this game. 9 of 21.
But I'll say this again, Eric, off the free throw, they've got to handle that full court pressure of Louisville.
And here comes some fresh legs to help with that press. Louisville will drop back.
Up. Yeah.
Yep. No press here. So DePaul doesn't have to work. They get another look for the freshman. O'Hare can't get it, and a rebound for Taylor. Taylor pushes it. I think if you go early in the shot clock now, Jeff Walz will walk onto the court and pull you off the court at this moment. Taylor will acquiesce, direct traffic, and slow things down. 6 to shoot. Now time for Louisville to go. Cochran rolls to the basket. Tough shot. Offensive foul. No basket. Wait, what's the call? Offensive foul is the call. There was a little confusion. DePaul wanted some clarification, and it is an offensive foul. I think they announced in the building that the basket was good, but it is not good.
Well, Peoples gets there, and I think some of the fans may have been looking at Clark there on the rotation, but you see the 2 steps, and Peoples is there. Enough time. And I think what's hard for Olivia Cochran on that roll there is that there was 3 people rotating, so I'm not sure who Olivia Cochran even saw until she ran into Peoples.
Now this is the alarming thing for Louisville. Cochran, who's been the best player for Louisville, limping to the bench in obvious pain. One thing too, Christy, to point out, the restricted area, that arc you see in the paint, that white line, it's invisible in women's basketball this year. It's there, but it is not there. Think of there being an arc or a line directly under the cylinder of the basket, which is not painted on the floor, but that's there. You understand what I'm saying?
I've got you. I've been taught the new rule, but that's a really good point. It's still on the court for another sport that plays here. However, for the women's game, it's directly under the basket is the only area that you cannot take that charge starting this season.
So that's one of the changes this year. Here's an open look for 3. That went down and feel a lot different right now. Now less than 2 minutes to go. It's a 9-point game. Louisville gets aggressive, and a foul is going to be called on DePaul. It's Mackerlane drawing the contact. Stepping to the line for Louisville is Nyla Harris. Trying to keep an eye on that Louisville bench. It looks like Cochran has moved down. Yeah, she's gone down and, well, getting some work.
Looks like on the calf.
Yeah. And she's got the water bottle. You know, so we had plenty of shots, and our crew in Louisville has been outstanding. Cochran has been working hard. We've seen her running the floor. We've seen her, and you hope with the water bottle there and the massage that maybe there's just a real nasty cramp in that calf, but we don't want to guess. But that's what you hope is the case, that they're just trying to work that out right now. Here's Clark for 3. 29 points for Kate Clark. 8-point game.
And there's the press for the first time, and Louisville just beats it with ease, pulls it up to work the clock.
Well, DePaul just looks gassed, too. They were just not ready to dial it up. Oh, that's an elbow up in the face of Peoples. No whistle. Peoples is still down. And now a foul is given intentionally by Gilbert to stop the clock. And the question will be, will they go to the monitor here to check and see if there was contact to the face of Peoples? They are calling for the athletic trainer to come out right now. Doug Bruno will come out. Danny Birmingham is the athletic trainer for DePaul. So they're going to go look at this on the monitor. We'll take a timeout. I'll be back in a moment.
Talk to me, I'll speak to you. Can you listen to the sound?
Call Jill. It's your journey. Own every mile in the Hyundai Santa Fe with America's best warranty.
Right now, get 0% APR financing on the 2023 Hyundai Santa Fe. Visit your local Hyundai dealer today.
Joe Vasili, Ashley Gloss have gone over to the monitor for an official review on the play where Peoples went down. We have yet to take a look at it, and they're getting a check. But most importantly, Peoples is being attended to on the court at the moment. All right, let's look at some replays here. Maybe the right elbow of Jefferson.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see anything there. Most importantly, it's just nice to see Peoples be able to get up and walk off on her own accord.
All right, let's slow it down here. This is what the officials are going to be looking at. Yeah, there's the forearm coming down as the ball got loose. It's just incidental. I mean, it's obvious not going to feel great, and Doug Bruno's going to state his case. But with just that forearm coming down, Christy, when the ball was loose, it's not like there was a swinging elbow or anything like that we would normally be looking for here.
But again, they're rewinding this and watching this multiple times, so it makes me wonder if maybe they're trying to make sure that there isn't something to it.
Yo, they'll be thorough. Joe Vasili.
The only foul.
Everybody's going to hear you, Joe.
The only foul is the foul called on the floor. That's on blue 0. 2 white is our shooter. 2 shots.
Joe, when we see Joe in person, he's going to be like, I didn't know the entire arena was going to hear me on this one. Some buildings have it, some don't, and it's not just directly. And that's what Joe's saying. The forearm just going for loose ball. I think that's what we were talking about a little bit, Christy. It's not like she swung the elbow around, which would be something that you would look at. But just that foul called on Gilbert.
Absolutely. I mean, there was no wind up. There was no nothing. It was just incidental contact.
So no intentional foul, and that's a good sign there. Olivia Cochran smiling and laughing on the bench, so that would lead us to believe that perhaps it was just real nasty cramp that they had to work out. Final minute at the KFC Yum Center in a 10-point game. Clark looking for 3 more, not this time. And tracking down the rebound is Harris. And I think Harris may have stepped out of bounds.
I know they haven't fallen, but give DePaul credit. The last couple of trips down, they've gotten 3 open looks at 3.
They have.
They just haven't been able to knock them down. No quit in the Blue Devils. They just haven't been able to knock them down here late.
She'll try again. This one is going to be off the mark. And it'll be Louisville basketball with 41 seconds to go. DePaul brings the pressure full court. And a timeout's going to be called by Louisville as Jefferson was struggling to get it in play with 41 seconds to go. So we've got North Carolina and Davidson coming up at the top of the hour. You get a chance to look at the Tar Heels. Of course, the story of the day is North Carolina State knocking off number 2 UConn. And just a taste of what's to come. Duke and Stanford coming up a week from today. That game will be on ABC. Tennessee, Notre Dame should be entertaining at the end of the month. Louisville's got a trip to Oxford on the schedule to take on Ole Miss, a team that they knocked off in the NCAA tournament a season ago. South Carolina, North Carolina, Arkansas, Florida State, all before the end of this month. Some great games on the schedule.
Well, Eric, those bottom 4 are all part of the first ever ACC-SEC Challenge. And there are some great matchups November 29th and 30th. So if you're a basketball fan, pure and simple, you need to be tuning in.
Back to Ricards in the backcourt. Looks like DePaul on the reach-in. A foul is going to be called here on O'Hare. Next up for DePaul, that's off to the Bahamas. The battle for Atlantis, South Dakota in the opener on Saturday. Their Big East opener comes pretty quickly, December 20th against Xavier. Doug Bruno's team. You know, we enjoyed talking to him this week. He brought up very quickly that he had to scout a young Christy Thomas-Scuddy in her playing days at Tulane. Now, he coached against you when you were there. I was going to ask him to bring out the yellowed, faded scattering report from deep in his file cabinet, but I held back on that one.
I figured you would have said the VHS tape.
Louisville gets it in with 30 seconds to go. It may have been 16 millimeter film, not VHS tape, but we'd have to double check on that.
Well, as I said to Coach Bruno, I've aged, he hasn't. He just keeps on winning.
Shot clock down to 3. Ricards takes a look. And it'll be DePaul basketball on the shot clock violation. So Louisville will improve to 2-0 on the season, wins over Cincinnati, and now DePaul. It was a slow start for the Cardinals, but a good finish. How about one more 3 for Clark? 32 points for Kate Clark. DePaul goes in for one final basket to end it. And